This is the Insta360 X4, arguably the best 360 video camera made right now. It shoots in 8K 360. I'm going to talk about in this video how this does as an action camera. This is a mountain biking and gravel YouTube channel, and I want to approach it from that perspective to help you decide if this is the right camera for you. I'll go ahead and disclaim this was sent to me for this review, but Insta360 has no input into what I'm going to say in this video. I'm going to give you my thoughts. At the end of the video, I'll tell you kind of best case scenario who I think this camera is really for, but I do want to go over the features, how I've used it to help you decide if you're better off with a camera like this, a 360 camera, or a traditional action camera like an Insta360 Ace Pro. This camera, what makes it a viable action camera is it's not only just a 360 camera, they have what's called a single lens mode, which allows you to frame it just like a traditional action camera. And in that case, it's 4K. And as I mentioned before, if you're using the 360 lenses, it's 8K. And then when you crop it in and use, your software to make it 360, it'll go down, I believe, to 4K, but it's very high resolution. And I'll say that the software is what makes this camera so usable. If the software was complicated, I wouldn't even give it a thought because I'm really busy, but it's really intuitive, really easy to use, whether you're using it on an iPhone, an Android phone, a desktop. I typically will use it on a desktop, a Mac, but it also works really well on my iPhone. So let's talk about using this as an action camera. And so I'm going to show some of the accessories that are going to apply to you as a cyclist. And I'll go ahead and say now that the bike bundle that Insta360 sells is going to be your best option. This comes with the chest mount. It also comes with this handlebar mount, which is very high quality and very, very easy to use. It allows you to mount it on your handlebars. You can fit this on any diameter handlebar, and it allows you to mount it on the bar. Now, I will say, as a mountain biker, you're probably better off mounting this either on your chin bar or on the chest mount. On a handlebar, if it gets rough, I think it's just going to move around too much. And so the chest mount, which is typically what I use, I've used it for many, many years. That's what I would recommend. So let's talk about how you would mount this on a chest mount. The Insta360 uses a standard 1/4-20 mount, which would allow it to go onto a tripod. So included in the bike bundle is this little adapter, which you just thread into the bottom, and that will allow you to mount the Insta360 into any accessory that's made for an action camera, to include their chest mount. So I'm going to thread that on, and then we're going to use one of the thumb screws that's included with it. So this is one option to mount it on the chest mount, letting it hang down. You can also flip it up. I find this to be a little bit too high. It's a different perspective. It may work for you. Now, the reason a 360 camera like the X4 can make a really good action camera is because it allows you to not have to worry about framing your shot. You just basically shoot, and in post, you can move it around anywhere. And a rookie mistake, a lot of people make this mistake, is they will put their action camera too low. They will put it, they're standing up, so they put it down, and then when they get on the bike, they're leaning over and the action camera is looking down at the top tube instead of out in front. It's a common mistake, and with a 360 camera, doesn't matter, right? You can frame it however you want. Now, there's another option that I actually like better, and the reason is I ride in areas that have a lot of trees, and when this thing is bouncing around like crazy, there's just a lot of leverage here. It can allow a little bit of jitter in the leaves. Now, if you ride in an open environment, it probably doesn't matter as much, but there's so much detail in the trees that if it's bouncing around like this, it can kind of mess up the detail. They sell a little bracket that allows you to mount it like that. So this is the bracket, and it allows you to mount the X4 horizontally. So you thread that into the bottom, into the 1/4-20 mount, and then it comes with an adapter that allows you to basically mount this into any mount, any accessory like the chest straps, selfie sticks that have an action camera style mount. So it just There's a lot of flexibility with the X4, a lot of things you can do with it. So there it is, set up with the traditional action camera mount. So that's what it looks like. Again, this is my preferred mount, and that way it doesn't move around as much, right? It's much more stable. It's really going to depend, right? If you're riding really rough terrain, this is what I would recommend. If you're not riding really rough terrain, you can mount it any direction. And as I mentioned before, you don't have to worry about framing it. You can just put it on there, ride, and then in post, just frame it however you want. I'm going to show some sample footage that I shot on a mountain bike ride, a gravel ride, and then when I walked around the yard to test it out. But before I do that, let me talk about a few accessories that you may be interested in. The ones that I would recommend the most are going to be the stick-on windscreens. So what you do is you stick on some Velcro that's on the outside, and these are the microphones, by the way, and then you can take these on or off, leaving the adhesive already on there with the Velcro. These are more effective than I thought they would be. In fact, when I did my gravel ride, I hadn't used the microphone covers yet, and you're going to see when I show the sample footage that I was just testing it out, and I was really, really impressed. Another accessory that you may be interested in is this. This is basically a remote that will show the camera view. It'll also allow you to start and stop the recording, and it's a GPS tracker, so you can have GPS overlays. Some of the footage that I'm going to show coming up on my gravel ride, I used this, and you'll see that I will put the overlays. You can take the overlays off. There's a lot of overlays that you can take off or put on using the software. So you've got, I think it's like 5 or 6 different overlays. I'm going to show them all on the screen, but you can take them off. Now, I'll go ahead and mention again with the software, I'm not going to show in this video how you use this software. I'm going to make a separate video that's going to go more into the features of the X4, some of the options that I use, how to use it. That's going to be too much for this video. In this video, it's more of an introduction to this camera to help you decide if it's going to make a good action camera for you. This is the selfie stick, and what's really cool, you'll see in the footage of me walking around the yard and on the bike when I'm on my gravel ride, I use the selfie stick for one shot. It does the invisible selfie stick. It's trippy. It's the best word I can use to describe it. How the selfie stick just disappears. It's like there's a drone above you, and you can see your hand holding it or whatever, but it allows for a really unique perspective. And so here's some sample footage, again, riding and walking around the yard. So I'm rolling along this gravel road. I'm rolling about 15 to 17 miles per hour, but it's pretty windy out. Wind's coming from front of me and then from my right side. Really just want to see how these microphones work with the little windscreen covering it. So obviously what's cool is I can just show the road in front of me. I can frame it exactly like I want. If I wanted to do more of a side view, I can show the side, or I can show me talking if I want it to be kind of a vlog. So now I've got the selfie stick pretty far out in front of me. I don't know how the microphone's going to do with it like this. Obviously a very interesting perspective, but not something you could do on really rough terrain or in a group, because I'm just holding it with one hand. But you can get really creative with this thing. So now I've got it in single lens mode. Still got a lot of wind on me. So this would be like a regular action camera. The screen widens to a 16:9. So I'm walking around my yard holding the camera right in front of me on the selfie stick, and I've got it in the D-warp mode. I'm going to test out the really wide modes, but this is what I would use for a vlog style. And what's great about this is you don't have to worry about how you want to frame it right now. I can do vlog style. If I want to show kind of what's around me, I can do that, which is great for like if you're on vacation and you just want to walk around and kind of show your surroundings and not be real weird and, you know, point the camera at people or different things. And you can just hold the camera out in front of you. Like I said, you can do it as vlog style, but then show your surroundings without worrying about how you're framing it when you're filming it. And if I wanted to put it really high on the selfie stick, I could hold it up and get a really unique perspective. And I would say I am really impressed with the microphones on this. I would always put the little windscreens on. I have them on right now. And you just never know when you're going to get a gust of wind that's going to mess up your audio. And these things work great. I again, really impressed with them. The last thing that I'll do for this test is I'm going to put it in single lens mode and see if you notice a difference. I'll stand in the same spot. All right, so that is single lens mode. And so that's going to be more like your traditional action camera. Obviously, I don't have the flexibility of showing anything around me in post. I would just have to spin the camera around if I wanted to do that. But I like that you have the option. So use case, here's my conclusion with a 360 camera like the X4 as an action camera. And that is, if all you need is an action camera to mount on a chest, on a helmet, you're not doing handheld video, I would go with a traditional action camera if that's all you need. But if you need an action camera and you want the flexibility of a 360 camera in everyday life, whether you're going on vacations, whether you're skiing, you know, you're doing handheld. If you have a camera out in front to point it at you and frame it perfectly, can be difficult. So if you want an action camera, again, but you want to just be able to have a 360 camera for all kind of creative uses, it's hard to beat this. The flexibility of this far exceeds a traditional action camera. So it's really going to depend on what your use case is. If you're interested, I'll put an affiliate link below. Let me know your thoughts. Have you used an Insta360 X3, X4, even the One RS? I won't really go into that, but that's another unique camera that Insta360 makes. If you've used any of those, let me know. I will upload a video in a few weeks that shows a tutorial of how to use the software on a phone, on a desktop, and then go into the features, the settings and whatnot of this camera, which again, is just too much to do in this particular video. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.